positive spin. So if I had to give some advice or some feedback, so we talked about the impacts of social media. What we can do is just like we fast our bodies for food, we can fast on social media. You can do 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. You can do be on the weekends, be off Monday through Friday, but just purely understand the influence and the impact that it can have on you as well too. And then the last thing I'll leave you with that, the basis of relationship is really just based on communication. Your ability to communicate and understand others, and as long as you continue to work on that, you may still the answer is you still may, right? Not definitively, could potentially have a successful relationship. So communication is key.
I guess I'm gonna reiterate what I said earlier. We need each other. Bottom line, we need each other more than mainstream media, social media will let you believe. We need each other. The men want something, the women want something. We need to figure out how to make this work. The cornerstone of any community is the family. And in order to have a family, you got to build relationships. In order to build relationships, you got to think about something that's bigger than the both of you, because that's what it's really about. So I'm going to just leave it at that.
I think I would have to say, instead of focusing on what we consider the negatives of past or present relationships and how they did it and didn't do it, you should look at the positive. You should see what works for you in your relationships, and then when you find out what works for you, because it's nobody else's relationship. You can read all the books, you can watch all the movies, you can think you're gonna be Cliff and Claire, but one thing about it, you ain't Cliff and your wife's not Claire. So find what works for you and work on your relationship. It is work. That's it.
Anything worth having requires energy and requires effort. And I think that so much wisdom was shared today here by these kings. I just put two rules together, the platinum rule and the golden rule. If you're going to be in any time of a relationship, whether it's past or modern, treat people like you want to be treated. That way, if you're mature enough to articulate how you want to be treated, you can share with them when they're not doing it, and you can applaud them when they're doing it. Then you have the platinum rule. Treat them like they want to be treated, which means that now you're investing in them and learning from them. So you're doing for them what they want. And when you can meet in the middle and one hole meets another hole, it's just one big hole. And in that way, that's a complete body. So that's the only thing that I say. Combine those golden and platinum rules because you're worth it and they are too. Peace.
I would say my final thought is this. For me, social media is a great thing. I think it's a great tool. I think you can get so much information out of it. I think you can learn a lot from it and gain a lot from it. But it also has to be something that you know what's real and what's not, right? Because you have common sense and you need to use your common sense. It's like any addiction. You know when it's becoming an addiction, but don't let it control your life. It's a source of information. I didn't have it growing up. Sometimes I wish I did. Maybe I would have made different choices, but it's a powerful tool. As far as, listen, this is our first part of the relationship thing. I'll say this. As far as relationships are, I'm big on communication. I don't believe in sugarcoating anything when it comes to telling my significant other something. And I don't think she should have any fear in telling me anything, or any man in any relationship. She should be able to walk up and you should be able to have that open communication. And when I say that, I don't mean it in a malicious way. You should be able to just say it. You can't make bad news sound pretty. It's still bad news. But you can also have that conversation that there's no problem, right? Because there's never a good time to tell somebody. The time is when you thought about it. And as far as finding someone, first of all, build the life you want for you. Okay, be selfish that way. You build your life. You become the man you want to be and continue becoming that man. So then you can pick and choose and have the type of woman that fits your lifestyle and what you want. You'll be able to, get what you want as a man in a relationship. If you want a dime, you want this, you want that, you'll have choices. But first you have to be able to back up what you're saying. You have to be able to stand your ground. You have to be able to say, listen, this is what I've built. This is what I'm offering you. This is who I am as a man. And you're coming into my life and I'm coming into yours. But these are things that I do and who I am to become the man that I am, and I'm not compromising that. And once you know where the boundaries are and the communication is, it's easier to put that square into a square peg. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right, tonight's discussion was pretty great, but for me, everything comes back to having a personal code. So, accountable masculinity rule number 1 is men focus on men. You need to establish a personal accountability standard so you can function amongst other accountable men, so we can improve our society. Create solutions for the benefit of our society by only discussing tangible outcomes based on our skills and networks. That requires a lot of ego management, self-improvement, so we can mitigate the conflict, the unhealthy competition between being right and righteous. And that's what the basis of this conversation is about. We need better expectation management, and we need to know and appreciate adequate sacrifice. Coach brought up earlier that a lot of people haven't worked on themselves enough to understand the beauty of compromise and how to use their emotional intelligence for something positive instead of looking for the negative. Situation awareness, using your feelings and emotions to read the room rather than to excommunicate your partner. In this process, as you start vetting behavior, because behavior is what this is all about, not necessarily the person, which is what I like about Roland. If you could change your behavior and add value, then we can't judge you for where you started. Only if it's rooted in something positive. Because if we try to restrict ourselves to who we see that person who they used to be, we're doing ourselves a disservice, because we could benefit from that as a whole, because we still need leadership from people that have credible experience. Get a good understanding of history and economics. Your relationships go according to what you can afford, and that's just reality. If you look at what people can afford, you can correlate the chaos with that as well. It's delusional to be unrealistic about where you place that in history and economics as it pertains to your relationships. Let's see, you need to be flexible and be able to adapt to your environment. That's where the history and economics piece is so important. And when in doubt, always follow accountable masculinity rule number 1, focus on yourself, because we all have the power to create problems, solutions, and opportunity. All things are true. Go lead, subscribe to the Unkle Junior network, and follow Elevated Dialogue. And most importantly, at the end of this, buy my book. Hey man, plug that up.
Yeah. So again, I don't want to sound repetitive. I think life's journey is all about personal development. So for me, I could never be with somebody who has the desire to be complacent. I think everybody has a responsibility to grow and develop within themselves. I want to kind of go back to what you heard earlier. I believe what everyone should be doing in any type of relationship that you're in, you should be honest with yourself, and so that you can be honest with other people. And you should also be open-minded enough to understand that my way isn't always the right way. I need to get to the point so I can hear what the other person is saying, process what they're saying, and then compare it to what it was I'm saying or what it is I'm thinking. Also, boundaries are healthy. So establish boundaries. Just create boundaries within the scope of relationship. If we do not establish boundaries, then you're just going to have a relationship that really is going to get to the point to where it doesn't look like a relationship at all. What do I mean when I say that? I mean that first and foremost, in order to establish boundaries, we have to be good communicators. But here's the deal. Communication, again, is one of those continual things. I don't care how good you think you communicate. Everybody can communicate better. So make sure that you're continuing to evolve in your communication efforts. And I would say, last but not least, I don't care what adjective you put in front of a relationship is a team. And where I think a lot of us go wrong is that we don't necessarily understand team dynamics, right? So what we have to do is understand the stages of team development: forming, storming, norming, and performing, right? When we actually do that and identify that the relationship is more important than my ability to be right versus another person's ability to be right, then we will focus on what is right for the team. And I think that's pretty much the best way to look at it.